Greetings to everyone on the internet. About 2 weeks ago in mid-June, on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I had the opportunity to spend, 2.5 days, we didn't spend the full Thursday, in Kings Island for my first time and my oldest boy's first time. And just like my Cedar Point trip, even though that one was 11 days, I thought, what the heck, make a video. Why not? No reason not to. So I won't have quite as depth insight into this one as I had for Cedar Point. Maybe be interesting anyways. Kings Island has 15 coasters. I know on their list they have 17, but they put Racer twice, blue and red. I only rode the red, did not ride the blue. I count those as one ride until I rode the blue one, and it should be the same. All the people are saying blue is a little bit better. And there's one that's surf something, and basically it's Pipe Scream from Cedar Point. And I consider that a thrill ride, not a coaster, even though it does have a bigger drop than probably 2 of the coasters in the park. So of the 15 actual coasters, I'm going to do analysis and rankings for 14 of them. Now, why 14? Because one of them, just like for Cedar Point, where we had 3 of them, we only have one of them here that gets a disqualification, a big DQ. And that one is Flight of Fear. Now, the reason why Flight of Fear gets a DQ, is it because it's a bad ride? Is it because I didn't want to ride it? Oh, God, I definitely did. Or because the line is insanely long. We were there. It was only open very shortly in all 3 days that we were there. But because I wasn't allowed to ride it for the absolute dumbest of reasons. For those who don't know how the car works for that, they have a lap bar, not a surprise, and they have a seat belt. But the seat belt doesn't go around you, doesn't buckle you in, it buckles to the lap bar. So when I sat down, I have very large thighs. They couldn't get the lap bar down enough to be able to buckle the lap bar. So I had to take the walk of shame. To put that in layman's terms, I'm too sexy for this ride, too sexy for this ride. The lap bar doesn't meet my thighs. I'm going to stop there. And so it gets disqualified. My kid rode it. He liked it some. He put it 7th on his list. I don't know if that's where we go on my list or not. Probably not too far off. So it's, okay ride. I guess there's a stop in the middle that destroys everything. But the line is insane. The line is insane. So we're going to start off with 14. And this one may be a little bit of a surprise, just a little bit. It's not going to be a Great Pumpkin Patch. Or the Great Pumpkin Ride. Because that ride is kind of boring, but it's just boring. In 14th place is a ride that's not only incredibly boring, but it's bad. It's painful. It's rough. It's awful. So awful bad beats just boring. 14th place is Woodstock's Air Rail. It gave my kid a headache. And we had to strategize through that for the next couple of hours. So, just like my other video, I'm going to do how many times you should ride each ride in a day, in a trip, in a lifetime. Woodstock's Air Rail has a pitch count of 0. Do not ride this ride unless you desperately want the credit. That would be the only reason to ride this. If you have a little one and they have never ridden a coaster before, the only reason you put them on this ride is if you want them to hate coasters and never ride a coaster ever again. Otherwise, don't let them ride it. It's not worth it. Even they go, can I ride that? You go, no, because I want you to love coasters. That coaster's bad. We'll ride a better coaster. And there's plenty of them. In 13th place is the Great Pumpkin Ride or Great Pumpkin Patch. Or it's so small I don't remember it. It's got an 8-foot drop. Only ride it if you have a really, really little one, and only ride it with them the first time. If they want to ride it again, let them ride it by themselves, feel like a big boy. or big girl. You only need to ride it once. So why did I ride it? I did it for the credit. The credit. The first drop may be a bunny hop, but I did it for the credit. Yeah, the credit. And I can only get away with these things because I have no subscribers. Am I going to lose subscribers? No one's going to watch this. So, all right. So that is in 13th place. In 12th place, now this one's going to be the biggest shock of all of them. This one is, for people who love Kings Island, they might hate me for this. Keep in mind, I only rode the red side, and I was told the blue side is better. And if that's the case, if I ever ride the blue one with my my youngest boy, who did not go with us to this trip on Kings Island, maybe I'll move it up to 10th. But this ride is boring, has no airtime, no thrills whatsoever. And my oldest boy and I were chanting at the halfway point of the ride, one and done. One and done, one and done, one and done. This ride is Racer. Yes, I have Racer ranked below 2 kiddie rides. There are 4 kiddie rides in Kings Island. 1 do not ride. 3 of them you put your kids on. 1's kind of little, they'll ride it once and you go, let's ride a real ride now. That was a practice one. There are 2 better than this. They really are. In that they have some thrill. Maybe the blue has a little bit of thrill. I don't know. I didn't ride it. It was down most of the time I was there. But red was boring. There are roads I can drive on that are more exciting to drive on than Racer. Now, it wasn't terribly rough, a little bit, but I'm not bringing it down because I'm bringing that because it was just boring. Very boring. So I got 12th. 11th place is Woodstock Express, which is a kid's wooden coaster. A great way to introduce kids to wooden coasters. A little bit of roughness on this, but it's not too bad. Won't scare your kids. If you're an adult, you will have to sit in a row by yourself. And if you have long legs like me, you will have to turn a little bit sideways. But it's okay. It's fine. The staff, they're like, yeah, we understand. It has a little bit of a thrill. It has 1 drop that's a little bit, which is more than Racer had. Not a great ride, but if your kids want to ride it, ride it. I forgot to mention, Racer, you'll ride it 1 time for the credit. If you have little kids, have the little kids ride it to make it seem like they're riding a big ride, and they'll not be maybe less scared of the bigger rides. So that's one that you could use to transition them from the kiddie rides up to the family rides. Racer really is a family ride. I thought it'd be like Gemini. It's nothing like Gemini. Gemini is way better. Woodstock Express is a fun one to ride 1 time. So ride it once in a lifetime. I don't think you need to ride it again. Your kids could ride it a couple times. That's great. Ride it with them the first time. Let them ride the second time by themselves. You could take a break, get some water, whatever. At this point, before I get to number 10, which you can probably figure out what it's going to be because it's going to be a kiddie ride, I do want to give an honorable mention. That's not a coaster, but I do want to give it an honorable mention, even though it's on a coaster. And that ride is Boo Shooter. And the reason why I want to give it a recommendation that you ride Boo Shooter is because if it's a hot day, there's not a whole lot of indoor stuff. Boo Shooter's indoors in the air conditioning, and you get to sit down for a little bit. It's a shooting ride. Most of the guns on the left side don't work. Use the one in the middle. But it's a cute ride. It's in the air conditioning. You will walk in, you'll be like, oh, I don't even want to go to the front of the line. I just want to stop here. And there was like no line. Well, of course, there was almost no line for anything when we were there. So I don't know what it's normally supposed to be like. But weekday, in the heat, on June, most people were in that were there were in the water park. So there was no lines for hardly anything. So much so that's why we only did a half day on Thursday, because my kids were like, we've ridden everything a bazillion times. This is getting repetitive and boring. Let's go home. I'm like, okay. By the way, one thing about the walking in Kings Island compared to Cedar Point, way less of it. I think it's probably half. If you're going to do any strategy, if you're there just one day, I would probably start the morning on the left side of the park and hit Orion first, and then Flight of Fear right in the open if it opens, because it's such a long line. Then wind your way around, hit all the rides on that side. Bat, I'm going to talk about Bat a little bit later. Bat is interesting for strategy wise. And then do the right side later in the day, particularly late in the day when it's dark, because there's a lot of good rides over there. The Beast, Mystic Timbers. A lot of those rides are kind of close. So there's not a lot of walking around, walking back and forth if you plan it correctly. But there's not a lot of strategy. Of course, we didn't have very long lines. We had very short lines. And so it was fine. In terms of food, we only went to 3 places. We went to the place that does basically it's like Chipotle's, the cantina something. That one was pretty decent. That was our favorite of the 3. We did the barbecue one, like the Coney barbecue. We hated it. It was awful. It was terrible. We didn't like any of the food there. And then there is the brew house. Brew house is great because you get to sit down inside in the air conditioning. So highly recommend the brew house because of the air conditioning. And it is family friendly. They do have a bar, but it's kind of small and off in the corner. So don't worry about your kiddos. Kiddos will be fine. The burgers are good. You can't do the bacon burger on the meal plan, but the regular pub burger is pretty good. So, all right. So on the 10th, this one was actually a pretty decent ride. Snoopy Soapbox Racer. For a kid's ride, this is a boomerang. I've only ridden 2 boomerangs in my life. This was the second one. The first one was also in this park. We'll get to that later. And so that was kind of fun going backwards. And so this is a ride I would actually ride more than one time in a lifetime. So this one is more than one and done. I'd probably only ride it one time on a trip, but I'd probably do it one time every, maybe another trip. Especially my little one, my youngest boy. I say little one, he's 9. But yeah, he'll be riding that because it's his level of roller coaster, unfortunately. I'm trying to work him up. It takes time. It takes time. Yeah, it's a decent ride. It's a decent ride. That's why I put it at the top of the kiddie rides at number 10. Number 9 is Adventure Express, which is the mine train. It is the absolute worst mine train I've ever ridden. Not because it's a bad layout or anything. The ending is kind of cute. But it's just... I'm going to give it the Scooby-Doo Award. Jinkies! Or Scooby-Doo Award because rough. Very rough. Very rough. This is a ride you definitely want to use the 3x-1 rule on. Now, for those who don't know what the 3x-1 rule is, if you have a train that has 3 rows per car, and it's rough, you always want to be in the middle of those 3 rows. So take the car number times 3 minus 1, and that's the rows you want to be in. So you want to be in row 2, 5, 8, 11, 14, 17. So that's the 3x-1 rule. This applies to a lot of rides. This applies to this ride. Pretty much applies to almost every wooden coaster in the planet. It applies to Magnum. I haven't actually used this rule on Magnum yet. I'm going to have to try. Magnum, this would be a great rule for Magnum. Definitely on the Beast, and definitely for Adventure Express. This one was very, very rough. How many times you ride it? 1 time. You ride it 1 time for the credit. In the lifetime, 1 time. Well, maybe once per trip. Once per trip. This is more of a once per trip one. Not once per day, once per trip. So, yeah. This park has a lot of coasters that you'll ride 1 time and be like, that was fun. Much better rides out there. All right. And 8th place is in Vertigo. This was the first boomerang I've ever ridden. One where you do inversions backwards, which is kind of fun. Now, my kid had banged a little bit on this one. Not as bad as Woodstock's Air Rail, though. That one was the absolute worst for him. I didn't feel anything, but I'm taller. So, decent ride. It was kind of fun. It was definitely unique to me. I haven't ridden a lot of these rides. Maybe when I ride more like this, it'll maybe fall down my list. But for now, put it 8th course. I mean, it's not very high up on the list. This is one I would ride again. This is maybe once a day, once a trip kind of ride. Wouldn't ride it twice in a row. But it was fun to ride. All right. In 7th place, we have our first once per day ride. I definitely would ride this once every day. It's a fun ride. It's kind of like almost more like a Disney level of ride. So it's definitely a family coaster. This one is, they call it now Queen City Stunt Coaster. It has a pretty nice launch. Little ups and downs. I do wish they'd have they'd have a little bit more with the theming. action with the theming. I mean, you go by the police cars and you're just going by things that are just standing there. It'd be nice if there was, sounds or something. You get to a helicopter, which is kind of cool. It'd be really nice if there was like gunshots before you shot off, but it's just stagnant. Maybe they're supposed to be, and it just wasn't the days I'm there. That does happen. I noticed at Mystic Timbers, sometimes there wouldn't be, there'd be certain things, sometimes it wouldn't be. So maybe, but this is a fun, decent ride. I probably wouldn't ride it twice in a row. It's not that exciting. It's pretty close to Beast. If you ride Beast, you can hit this. If you're going from Orion to Beast, definitely stop at this one and ride it. This is to use a Dungeons and Dragons term, an attack of opportunity ride. If you pass by it and the line's not super long, which it really wasn't for us because nothing was, go ahead and ride it. I imagine on a busy day, a lot of the lines will probably be longer, and this one will be a little bit shorter. Maybe right just because of that. Who knows? But it is a decent ride. It's a fun little ride. The little ones will like it. This is one where you can kind of scale them up. My 9-year-old, I'll definitely put him on this one because he's ridden Disney rides, and this one's kind of comparable to that, so you can ride that and hopefully give him a little bit of confidence to get on something a little bit bigger like Mystic Timbers or the Beast. All right, in 6th place is Bat. Now, I got to talk about Bat. If you look at the map of where they put Bat, it's really close to Banshee. Or so it seems. It's not. The entrance to Bat is close to Banshee. The location of the ride is about a quarter-mile away from the entrance. That means you have a quarter-mile queue to walk through. And this is not a queue that goes back and forth, you could just kind of cut through. It is a straight line, at least a quarter mile, maybe even longer. I didn't measure it, to get to Bat. So it is a very long walk. So when you go ride Bat, I want you to pick a number between 1 and 5. 2, pick 2, maybe 3. As that's going to represent the number of times you want to ride Bat in that trip. Ride Bat. Fun ride. It's really fast. It's crazy. Not as good of a ride as the top 5 rides, which are all really, really good rides, but it's a good ride. And then when you get off the ride and you walk in down the exit queue, eventually there's going to be a connector between the exit and the entrance. About a third of the way down, half the way down. I want you to take that kind of like on a freeway where they have a cop pull-off part cops can do U-turns. It's kind of like that. Take the U-turn. Go back into the line. Ride it again. And do that as many times as you want to ride it. Because you're only going to go to Bat one time in the trip. Because the walk is just that far. You're going to walk that. And when you get back and walk all the way back to the entrance again, you'll be like, I don't want to do that walk again. Good ride, but I don't want to do that walk again. And you're not going to want to, trust me. You're going to like, I can walk. No, you won't want to. It is a long walk. If you walked from the entrance of Bat in the other direction, the same distance as you would to go to the ride, I suspect you'd end up on Diamondback. It's that far. It is a ridiculous distance. So, yeah, good ride, but make sure you get all your rides in at once. We rode it one time. And Mike was like, yeah, we'll get back to it later in the week. We did not. I was like, do you want to ride? I don't want to do that walk. Okay, understandable. Especially in the heat. Good ride, though. Good ride. Especially, I took the recommendations from channels in the front. Awesome in the front. This is definitely one where you want to ride in the front. Wait an extra few minutes to ride in the front after all that walking. All right. Now, in 5th place is, for me, 3rd place for my kid was Banshee. Banshee is very similar to Raptor and Rougarou at Cedar Point, but on steroids. It's a little bit more intense than those two rides, and it's definitely better than Raptor or Rougarou. There was a little bit of roughness, but it didn't bother me. You get flipped around a lot. There's one part of the end where they kind of hold you upside down, kind of like for Thunderbird at Hollywood World. Very fun ride. We only rode this twice. If there was one I was a little disappointed I didn't get more rides on, it was this one, just because my kid didn't want to. It's in a part of the park by itself between it and Bat. It's just kind of off in the corner, and so all the other good rides are kind of off amongst themselves. So it's a little bit harder to get to Banshee, just a little bit. And so we didn't ride it too often. Out of sight, out of mind, one of those kind of things. I definitely like it. Better than, like I said, better than Raptor. I have it quite a bit, up my total list. I think I have it in my top 20 out of 50. I don't have a lot. I don't have a lot of coasters on my belt yet. But hey, give me another month and let me get to 3 other parks, and we'll see. We'll see. But this is a good ride. I liked it. My kid had it at third. He liked it more. I'm surprised at third place that he didn't want to ride it more. But whatever. In fourth place, I have the Beast. And yes, the Beast at night is really cool. Really cool. Is it as cool as the Voyage in the dark? Not even close. The Voyage at night is awesome. Okay. Beast at night's pretty good too. So definitely get a night ride on the Beast. Everyone says it. They say it for a reason. The reason I don't have this one higher, it's a fun ride, but it's not a thrilling ride. It has some drops and some rises, but it doesn't have that moment, any of those moments that just like, oh my God, what was that? Like the first drop, especially if you're in the back of Diamondback, the first drop of Orion. There's some moments on Mystic Timbers. This one just doesn't have a moment. It and Mystic Timbers remind me sort of the Legend from Holiday World, but without that really cool first drop. I don't like the fact that the chain lift is so slow. It takes forever. Some say Johnny went on the chain, and he is still there today. Yeah, just like 4 or 5 minutes on that. But it is a fun ride. It's very fun. You go through the woods. It's a really fun ride. I think I could actually get my youngest one on because it's not not as thrilling. He may be a little scared to get on it, but I think he'll actually be like, okay, that was good, Dad. It didn't scare me. Hopefully. We'll see. At third, I have Mystic Timbers. Great ride. We have not ridden that one at night. Don't we know the shed? No, they have a lot of fun with that one, especially the operators. Like, enjoy your ride on Vortex, especially in the morning. It is a fun ride. It doesn't have I would say it's very similar to Legend, but without that good first drop. So I put it a little bit below Legend on my overall list, but it is a fast and furious and wild and crazy ride with a lot of side to sides. The up and downs aren't quite as thrilling as a lot of the sides and sides, which is kind of true of Legend too. But I definitely like it. But it's at number 3 because of the top 2. All right, in second place, I have Orion. I know some people put Diamondback at number 1, but that's because they probably don't ride it in the back very often. Orion's a good ride. Great first drop. A lot of good air time. Some ejector time later on. It's a shorter ride. It's a little short. It's quick. But when there's no line, great ride. I can't imagine waiting for that ride more than 30 minutes. I'd be disappointed if I did. But we were getting off pretty quick, pretty easy. 32 people per ride, so it has pretty good capacity. But yeah, just a very, very good ride. Don't like it as much as Millennium Force. I like Millennium Force more. But very good ride. I forgot. I've been not telling you how many times to ride these rides, have I? All right. So with Banshee, I would ride Banshee probably 3 times in a row if I could. If my kid didn't want to go somewhere else, maybe 5 times in a day would probably be max. That's a good ride. It doesn't really hurt me at all, except for maybe to get out a little bit. My quads a little bit. So that one's pretty good. I already told you, Bat, pick a number 1 to 5. I'd probably ride it 2 or 3 times in a trip all at once and not go back to it. Beast is a 3x-1, and if you're not doing 3x-1, you're only going to ride it a time or 2 before it throws you around and wrecks your back, and everything else. So Beast, I would ride it maybe 3 times in a row, maybe 5 or 6 times in a day. That's probably the max. That was kind of what we were doing for riding it, about 3 times a day. Mystic Timbers, I think it'd probably be about the same as the Beast. I'd probably ride it 5, 6, 7 times in a day. I'd ride it, a couple times in a row if there's no line. It is a good ride. But now the one thing about Mystic I do not like is just like similar to the Beast, but the chain lift going upwards. I'm old. If I was young, I probably wouldn't care about this, but it goes forward and back and forward and back and forward and back as you go up the chain lift, and that wrecks my back. Fun fact, riding Steel Vengeance 23 times and Top Thrill 2 12 times in a week is murder on the back, and you won't notice it till the next week when your back says, I surrender. I did that. So I had to push back the Kings Island trip a couple weeks. So Mystic and Beast are a little hard on the back, so that gives a little bit of a pitch count. Orion, I mean, we would literally ride Orion 5 times in a row, and no problem. I would not really give much of a pitch count for Orion. Maybe 10 times in a day is too many, maybe. But that one's a good ride. And finally, our number 1, which is I think my number 4 overall, Diamondback. Love Diamondback. Not Diamond Front, Diamondback. I joke a little bit. Now, Diamondback is a choose-your-own adventure ride. If you want a ride, if you ride in the front, it'll go over the hill and kind of stop and hang you as you go down, and you'll look down for a second, and then it'll slide down. If you ride in the middle, lots of glorious airtime. It's like you're riding the Vomit Comet, or you're in space, and you will just float for most of they'll give you a seat, but you will not use it. You will spend more time out of your seat floating than you will spend in your seat. Awesome and amazing. In the back, that ride will grab you, rip you over the hill, and rip you down the next hill. Time after time, like you are a rag doll. It is awesome. Love Diamondback in the back. Diamond Front, Orion's probably better. Diamondback, yes, please. So, that's my list of coasters. We didn't ride any of the other flat rides other than Boo Shooters. We were there for the coasters. Although when my kid was like, I'm bored with everything, I'm like, let's ride some flat rides. I probably should have said that, but probably. Oh, we did ride on one on a flat ride. We did the Thunder Canyon, which is in terms of how that kind of ride goes. The one at Disney sucks. The one at Cedar Point is even worse. The one at Holiday World was great, but they closed it. The one at Kentucky Kingdom is meh. This one's better than Kentucky Kingdom, so it's the best one I've ridden that is still in operation, but that's not saying much. It'll get you wet, which might be the point of it. I don't know. But the operations for that one were terrible. They were sending people with 2 people on a raft that could hold 6, and the line was 30 minutes, and yeah, I'd skip that one. I just would. All right. Anyhow, that's it. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. I'm going to be spending some time at Six Flags America before they close at the end of July, as well as King's Dominion, 2 days at King's Dominion and 2 days at Carowinds. So maybe I'll come back and do a video ranking all 3 of them. Who knows? I can do whatever what. No one watches it anyways. I scream into the void. And I fear the day when the void screams back. But it's not going to come. All right. Goodbye, everybody.